Loud and Quiet presents Midnight Chats.
It's been a day of final things here at Loud and Quiet today. We put to bed our final issue of 2018, the last one of the year. Went off to print quite easily. Quite a fun one to make, this issue, actually. It's the one that features our albums of the year list, which is always quite a fun thing to put together because it just means you can go back and listen to a lot of things that you maybe missed. All of our writers vote on our albums of the year, and a lot of the time I have missed a lot of really good records, so it's quite an education for me to put it all together. That comes out next Saturday the 8th of December, if you're interested in tracking down a copy or subscribing. If you subscribe now, actually, then that will be the first one you would receive in the post. So yeah, that's all gone off to print. It feels good to get to the end of the year. There were times when it looked like we weren't going to make it, but we've made it. And now we can have a little bit of a rest, take some time off over Christmas, and then we'll be back. Our first issue of next year is the 2nd of February. There's no January issue. A little bit of closure there. And this is also the last episode of the podcast that we're going to do for the year. We'll come back probably mid-Feb, early March maybe. We need to go off now and record a bunch more. But this has been a really good series 6. We only wanted to do 10 episodes. We ended up doing 13, I think, because we were just offered a lot of people that we wanted to get in there. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We've had some really great people. So thank you to everyone that has come on the podcast so far. I can't believe we're at number 63 in total. And that's tonight's episode. And it's with Roisin Murthy, who came by our office a couple of months ago now. We recorded this a while ago. And it's an odd one. I'm not totally convinced that Roisin was loving the experience of talking to me, if I'm totally honest. But that's fine. A lot of people don't. And I listened back to it today. I've literally just edited this evening to put it out in time because we've had the magazine going on and everything. And I was kind of dreading listening back to it. I thought it might be really awkward. I'll let you be the judge of just how awkward it is or isn't. I actually think it's better than I remember it. And she has a lot of really interesting things to say. Roisin has had a stressful year. She tried something new this year and attempted to release a 12-inch, one a month for 4 months, and it drove her a little bit insane. She talks about that during our conversation. She was making those records with Maurice Fulton, who is an American DJ. I'm not sure where he's from. I've got a feeling he's from Detroit, but I might be wrong on that. He lives in Melbourne now, and the two of them put together these 4 records, 8 tracks in total, and we're releasing them throughout the summer. But more than that, Roisin also does a lot of extra things. She's not happy to just make the record. She makes all of the videos herself, all of the visuals, all of the stage show. Everything is her. Perhaps if you're old enough, you know Roisin from Moloko, which was her duo with Mark Bryden. Things to Make and Do was the big record that they released, their 3rd album in 2000. That had Sing It Back on it, the remix of Sing It Back, which is still an absolute standout tune. If you put that on now, it is a great song, as well as The Time Is Now, which I think is their best song. But since then, Roisin has released 4 albums herself. She did 4 in total with Moloko. And in this conversation, we kind of bounce around all over the place. We talk about her getting into music. She never thought she was going to be a singer. She thought she was going to be an artist of some sort. And meeting Mark, falling in love with him, forming Moloko, accidentally getting a record deal. And although in this conversation she kind of gives herself a hard time and seems to think that she hasn't really achieved much, I think she's achieved a load. She's maybe not been given the dues that she deserves over the years, I think, and it started to maybe wear her down, and she's starting to think that maybe she's not really done that much. But if you go back and listen to her solo records and those Moloko records, there's just a hell of a lot of really inventive stuff in there. Some really inventive music. No one really sounded like Moloko back then, and I still don't think they really do. So definitely worth visiting that again if you are unfamiliar with the Moloko stuff. And the new stuff with Maurice is really good, but she did hate putting it out. She hated doing it. You can now hear that straight from Roisin. Thank you for listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to previous ones if you have already. If you haven't, please do check them out. We're now going to be on a little bit of a break. I feel it's deserved. Thanks to Greg. He's done at least half of these over the whole of Midnight Chats. And yeah, thanks to me. Yeah, I've done all right as well. So this is number 63 with Roisin Murphy. And if you're interested in Loud and Quiet magazine as well, loudandquiet.com, £3 are our new subscriber offer, £3 a month, and we'll deliver you a copy every time we release one, which is 9 times a year. New issue next weekend. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to Midnight Chats.
You know, I had a gig in Belgium a few weeks ago that was just, I just wanted the stage to open up and swallow me. You know, it was really everything that could have gone wrong technically did go wrong.
Right.
And
When that
to
happens,
the point where, you know, it's like a forensic situation for 2 weeks after to try and figure out why this sort of thing, catastrophe has gone on. You know,
right.
A series of catastrophic events have happened, and you can't find out. You can't necessarily get to the bottom of it.
So
and you have to go then and do a gig again, not knowing if you've sorted out the glitches from the last time. So it's really hectic.
Had you sorted them out? Like when you played?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Most of it was, sorted out.
Okay.
But it could go wrong again because we didn't know. Even the next gig after that, you don't know, because we don't know really.
So you're kind of on
some
edge.
of it.
Is there any fun in that? That adrenaline, that extra danger?
Not
or
in
is
that. No, there's no fun in that at all. But there's loads of fun in touring and doing live shows, and being a performer for me is I was born to it really. Even though I wasn't, even though I didn't think I was going to be a performer. The truth is, I really am. And as I get on with things in life and come across other performers, people in the same position as me, and I see it's not as easy for them and not as enjoyable for them as it is for me. And as the years go by, I become more and more kind of grateful for it.
Yeah, you mean in terms of getting up there, some people struggle with
Really, yeah. I mean, in a way that kind of surprises me, because it just, not that I think I'm perfect at it, or that there is such a thing as being perfect at it, but it's just easy for me. It just is, you know. I just get up either in front of a camera or on a stage or whatever, and it's
when you do it.
Obviously something that is natural for me.
So when I saw you in the summer and things were crazy, was it rehearsals and you had the singles were, you know, that's still coming out now?
I've ended up doing everything.
Because you're across everything. This is
Yeah.
the thing, isn't it? You don't just, like, you...
Because I'm good at everything. So I ended up just doing it all.
From the beginning, even like going way back to when you were on big record labels, when you're on EMI, and they kind of have like cash to get someone to take care of all these things. Were you across it all then? Were you obsessed in that way then?
Yes, probably, and more so in a way with EMI, because I was more in control of the music. So I mean, there's part of me now that has to compromise. You know, the EMI record is an unusual record because it was made at my behest. It was made with lots and lots of different producers, writers, mixers, and so the other records that I make are a collaboration with another guy. You know, Maurice Fulton, you can't tell him what to do after a certain point. Yeah. Matthew Herbert, you can't tell him what to do after a certain point, although maybe a little bit more than Maurice.
Okay.
You know, Mark Brydon, even in Moloko, I had to kind of sit back and let him. When I wrote "Sing It Back" as a on a house beat, because that was the vision I had for it, and I saw him kind of change it into something else, something beautiful, but something else before it ended up on the album. I had to go, okay, I can't push him any further. He won't go any further for me than that. But with the EMI record, I was the boss of that. So in a way, the very stressful part of that was the end of the making the record process was like telling people I was working with, I don't like that mix, I'm going to have to take it to somebody else to mix it.
Are you good at doing that? Saying this isn't good?
Well, when you pay them a fortune, you can do that.
Yeah.
But when it's like very much a labour of love, like it is with Maurice or with Matthew Herbert. Well, Matthew, I think, did get paid actually quite well. But nowadays, especially, I have to be very careful who I choose to work with in terms of music, because I am not going to be able to boss them around.
Do you think you're a good boss?
Yeah, I do think I'm a good boss. I don't think you'll find many people who will... I think the people on the inside who work with me have a very different kind of way of looking at me than the people on the outside of the actual creative part of it.
Yeah. Well, how do you think people look at you from the outside? I
think they think I'm a pain in the arse, or I'm difficult, or I'm volatile.
Why do you think why would they think that? What is it that makes
they don't understand me, or they don't get my humour, or they're not that clever, maybe. But the people on the inside are all seriously clever people. They're brilliant. They're brilliant people. I work with brilliant people, and I am what they have given me to a large extent. So there is a difference from the inside to the outside.
And how about having a boss? Were you good when you had a boss?
Never had one.
Have you never had one? Because you got into singing young, like out of college.
Didn't go to college. Don't have any archetype in my family even that had bosses. So we were all people who had their own businesses.
Did you never even work in a shit pub with a boss?
I did here and there. I had a job in a restaurant in Sheffield that that trailblazed and brought chicken Caesar salad to Sheffield. and had some incredibly mad chef and stuff. But I walked in on him one day and he had a knife to somebody's throat.
What?
And it was because he was so big-headed for because he was making chicken Caesar salad. It was ridiculous. I never lasted very long in jobs. No, 3 days, 5 days. Seriously.
Was it just because you just got there and you thought, I can't be told what to do in this way?
I wasn't very good at it. I wasn't good at that kind of stress. I'm a bit quite dyslexic, and and also just doing maths really quickly, and
working in a restaurant's quite stressful, I think.
Very stressful. That stress of running around and remembering stuff that's banal, I'm not good at it at all. No, and as I said, no way have I got anybody in the family. There's no one on either side of the family that works for anyone. So we're not posh people by any means.
You're grafters.
But we're not working class in the sense of we don't work in factories and things like that for other people.
Yeah.
We create our own world.
Sure. So when we spoke for the magazine, we were mainly talking about your time in Manchester when you were 16. From Manchester, you went to Sheffield.
Oh, aye.
Which is where the singing starts, right?
Yeah.
And there was a point where you were hanging out at a recording studio, I seem to remember.
Yes.
And you met Lisa Stansfield's A&R.
Oh, that was in Stockport.
That was in Stockport.
Was in Manchester, yeah.
But he was the guy that kind of said to you, you should be a singer.
Oh, I didn't take any notice of him, no. Not one bit of notice of him. But yeah, he did actually say you should be something, from the trip I shouldn't be doing this while I'm
No,
speaking.
go for it. Eat
I'm
it.
eating
This is an egg sandwich.
for the listeners, I'm eating an egg and bacon sandwich. He was the guy who said, no, he wasn't just the only guy. Loads of people said it to me, actually, when I think back. Like,
They just said
when
you
I
should
first,
work in music, but they didn't necessarily say.
No, they wouldn't say that. They would say, you're going to be something.
That's all they would give you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had no idea I was even any good at music. I thought I was going to be a visual artist. I thought it was going to be something like a photographer and filmmaker. Yeah, so I went to the Chip. I was at Strawberry Studios. My boyfriend at the time had like a hip hop act, and he was connected with all sorts of people who made music. And on the same day, I met Martin Hannett, which was quite amazing.
I remember you saying, what was he like? Didn't you say he was quite sweaty?
Sweaty, very sweaty is all I can really remember. But he seemed really nice. But there was a lot of sweat pouring out of him while he was working over the console.
What was he? Do you know what he was working on?
I think he was working on a band called Rig.
Rig, okay.
Who were also friends of my boyfriend's. But yeah, so then I went to the chip shop with this guy who was Lisa Stansfield's A&R. And of course she was massive at the time, Lisa. Very big figurehead for me, even anyway. But he said to me by the time we got back to the fish and chip shop from there with the stuff for the people, you should be something, or you're going to be something. And the other person who said that to me was Rob Mitchell, who ran Warp Records in Sheffield.
Right, okay, yeah.
He died a few years ago, unfortunately. He was a brilliant guy. And him and his wife were, when I went to Sheffield first, they were friends with my boyfriend, which is why I moved to Sheffield, because he was finishing his architecture degree there. So they took me in, kind of, in a way. They used to feed me. And after I broke up with Pete, they remained very good friends of mine. The first time my name was ever on a record, it was on a Warp compilation, and it was just he name checked all the people who were at a party in his house, which was a very small party, but he put us on the back of the compilation. So that's the first time I was ever on a record sleeve. And he used to say to me, "You're going to be something." And
at that point, you still didn't think
I
it was
was
going to
out.
be music.
Yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't. Yeah. I went into music with that attitude. I kind of went into music like I wasn't doing music. You know, I had a different sort of, when I think back, I had a conceptual kind of attitude to it. You know, I was like, not as a singer at all. I didn't go into it. I mean, I was signed to a record deal before I sang. It was things like, "Do you like my tight sweater?" And pretending to be a valley girl, you know, in Party Weirdo and things like that. It was more like performance art or a conceptual view that I was giving. That's I think what Mark was getting from me, and that was the reason why he wanted to go ahead with working with me. Well, and I think the main reason probably was because we were really in love, and just to be together was great. But he was a proper important producer at that time, you know, and he had built Fon Studios, and you know, he was the real thing. And so, and I was 19 and he was 33 when we met.
Right.
So it was a bit of a thing, you know. What's Bryden doing? Young 19-year-old, for God's sake. But it wasn't an ordinary 19-year-old, you know. It wasn't like I wasn't a Playboy bunny or anything.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I was a handful even at 19. Well, I was a handful at 15.
You'd met Mark at a party, right? A house party.
Yeah.
Did you start working together straight away?
Yeah, that night.
Really?
That night. We weren't working together, no. I mean, I wouldn't call it work, but...
Working on tracks.
He recorded me. We went to Fon Studios, and he recorded me saying, "Do you like my tight sweater? See how it fits my body?" And it went over this beat that he already had. And then he had another beat that he didn't have me on, and then he had the week after that, we went in and after a party as well in the middle of the night, because obviously we were using the studio when nobody was there, and when we were in the mood, I'm not going to go into why we were in the mood, but in the middle of the night of a weekend. But when we were in the mood, we went in and recorded me being this valley girl, because I'd started saying at the party we were at that night, look at all these party weirdos, man. And so he was like, let's go in and get that one down and all, and with those 3 tracks, his manager went off down to London and got us a record deal and didn't tell me that he was doing that.
You're not really even singing at this point. You're just kind of talking on these 3 tracks.
Yeah.
And
I'm like, are you sure, Mark, that you want to do this? What are you talking about? And it was a 6-album deal.
Yeah.
And so...
Can you remember that moment when you went down and signed it?
Yeah, I can.
Because this must be... So is this like 93?
94.
94, which is a time when the music industry is completely different to what it is today. Was there a big signing party? Was there...
There was a big signing party, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a huge label. Echo was like an independent label.
Indie, yeah.
But part of Chrysalis, and they signed our publishing at the same time. So we were signed to Chrysalis Publishing, which was great actually, and turned out to be a great thing for us because they were a really great publishing company. They're now BMG, so now all that stuff's on BMG.
Sure. And what were you thinking in that moment? Like, because it's kind of almost happened by accident in a way. And you're suddenly down in London signing.
Well, as I said,
deal.
it wasn't like that I was ever going to be allowed to think, this is it now, I'm going to be a pop star. First of all, we lived in Sheffield. Sheffield was a bubble. The way I came at it, I didn't come at it like that. I didn't come at it as somebody who'd been in stage school and desperately trying to, get my talent across as a singer and a songwriter and all that. And as I said, I did say to Mark, what the hell are you doing? Why do you want to sign a 6-album deal with me? And he said to me very smartly, and it's true, he said, it says 6-album deal, but if we get to 6 albums, something has gone extremely right, Roisin, so I really wouldn't worry about it. If things go wrong, they'll go wrong, and that's that.
Yeah, and it'll become a 1-album deal.
Yeah, 1 album deal,
Yeah.
or 2 or 3 or whatever, And so it's not like a life sentence or anything. And so he was just up for it. I don't, and it was good. I think he must have liked, and was never, he was never one of these guys that couldn't listen to women. He loved women and stuff. So usually guys around me do. They not people who have any problem with women. So
Yeah.
he was quite happy to just my naive passion was something he was quite happy to sort of soak up, obviously.
So what happens next? You stayed in Sheffield, didn't you?
Yeah.
You didn't kind of move anywhere else. You stayed up there. Until when? Was it for the first 3 records? 2 records?
I didn't move down to London until around 2000.
Right.
2001 maybe even.
Yeah, so the first 3 were out.
Yeah, no, the last album we made, both of us were living in London, but we were no longer boyfriend and
Together,
girlfriend.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, that's not, so the first record came out in 94.
Okay, so it must have been 93 that we signed the deal, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, around 94, 95 is when Britpop goes mad and it suddenly
That was
becomes
really
this...
an anathema to everyone in Sheffield.
Was
well.
it?
People were like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We've been working on like avant-garde experimental music.
Even with like Pulp being in there.
Well, Pulp were in London, so and had been for a very long time. They didn't seem actually like a Sheffield band
Right.
at that point. And I didn't know anybody who made indie music in Sheffield. I only knew, Richard Kirk and Parrot and all these people who made incredible electronic music. And also the lineage seemed to be of that as well, with Human League and all
Cabaret
that.
Voltaire.
And Cabaret Voltaire. So it seemed a bit like, what's going on here? So, excuse me. Did seem retrograde.
As Moloko got bigger at that time...
It never felt like Moloko got big. It never felt that way.
Not even when Sing It Back was released?
No. Felt like Sing It Back got big. It never felt like that happened to us.
What do you think that's down to? Just like the club culture that Moloko a kind of more part of where tracks
I think
become
there must
big,
be a
bigger
gazillion
than artists?
reasons. There must be you could probably write a thesis on why, or you could just say we weren't good enough. I don't know.
But I think Moloko did get big. I think to you it maybe didn't feel like it
It
was
never
big,
felt that
but-
way. I never felt like I'd put my feet up and now, success has come. I've never felt that. And I still, obviously, I don't feel it now. I'm constantly running to prove it and to be just better than the last thing. And to surprise, and in a sense, that's what gives me the hope and to keep going like that. I know that my next record is completely different to my last record and all that. So I know there's still this chance that anything can happen. It's not like... But what's depressing about the industry now is that they literally think they can work... It used to be that the business was about hope and about... Somebody would meet you and say, I believe in you,
You're going to be
I think
something.
something's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is going to kick off, yeah. Whereas now it's like they look at everything I've done in the past, they collate the numbers, they crunch the data, they decide how much they're going to spend versus how much they are absolutely sure that they're going to make. And there is no mystery anymore. There's no like...
It's like a science to it.
They think so, but of
Yeah.
course, how can that be with art? I mean, I just don't know how... I would give up if I thought like that. I would not have the energy.
Would you have liked to have been huge? A huge pop star?
That's an impossible question to
But were you
answer.
aiming for it? When you were making Moloko records, was that the aim?
No, I don't think so. Actually, it wasn't the aim. The aim was to be brilliant, I guess, to make records that, it certainly wasn't the aim to avoid it, yeah, but it was perhaps the aim to kind of just make great records. And we I was never on the sleeve until the very last record. The picture of me was never on the front of the sleeve and all that. And at the beginning, we were meant to be three dolls. We were going to be these three dolls that were dressed in raincoat sisters. And we did a photo shoot with the dolls, and they're on the first single. And the photo shoot didn't give us... There was not enough emotion in the first photo shoot, so we had them shot again,
Right.
which did come with a bit more emotion. But it ran aground, that idea, because there wasn't much else we could do with those dolls. But it was never on the agenda that I would be pushed to the forefront of Moloko as a pop star. And definitely not what I got into it for. How I got into it, as I said, I got into it with like, you don't want to be doing acid jazz. Come on, let's do this. I was little like tearaway.
You were a Sonic Youth fan.
I was, yes, I was. That's part of me too. But by that point, I was really into all kinds of music, and especially into dance music.
What was it that got you segue from like Sonic Youth and kind of punk and no wave into club music? Can you remember?
But it's all the same, the more I grow up and look at it now, and I kind of look at, it's just all the same. It's all the same. It's all got, if it's got
But it's
that
not the same if you're
energy-
making it, is it?
I mean, the genres that you're talking about, the music that I love, it has the same energy, whether it's like Rolls Royce or Sonic Youth. When you look at her singing in Rolls Royce, she's a punk, she's like, she don't give a F, like, she's just in it, like, totally in it. It's totally soulful, and that's what I like. There's no types of music that are bad or good. It's just bad or good music, and that's a cliche, but it's true.
No,
so.
that's true. But I suppose to make art, you have to like kind of choose your...
Why was I not making Sonic Youth?
Well, you have to, you kind of have to say, I'm going to be in a band. I'm going to make disco music. I'm still a punk, and I still make it with that spirit. But the music I'll be making is like club music. Like, you still have to choose one or the other, don't you?
We didn't choose club music anyway, that's for sure. Maloko did not choose club music. I had a bit of a struggle trying to get Mark to go back to club music. It had experience at the very sort of furnace of it in this country. It had a huge hit with House Arrest, and like in 1987, so one of the first house records that became a hit that was homegrown. And they'd all been doing it, and they'd all been in competition with each other in Sheffield as well. Now, definitely there'd been a lot of that going on. That was quite funny as well. In a way, the blokes were quite bitchy.
Well, Maloko did very much become its own thing. Did you get lumped in with other people though? It felt like with Britpop, if you were a guitar band, you were instantly a Britpop band.
Trip hop, yeah.
And you became then a trip hop thing
Hop.
and part of the kind of
Well,
Bristol
Maloko
scene.
were, I'm not being funny, but we existed before the term trip hop, so maybe we're partly to blame for it, I don't know, but certainly we weren't making trip hop. When we made the record, it was finished, the finished record before anyone had coined the term trip hop. So it was rather disappointing, and it was a really crappy name even for a type of music. It seems so flighty and flyaway to kind of put these notions together, jam them together in this postmodern way. Hip hop and LSD or tripping, acid, they don't really go together first of all anyway, and it's just a kind of, I don't know, it just seemed
sounded good.
It sounded terrible in a way.
Yeah,
it was doomed, it was a doomed bad phrase for music, and a bad name for a style of music. Terrible name.
So what is, like, now, what do you consider success?
I don't think about success.
Not at all.
I try not to, otherwise I would get probably depressed. I just keep going every day, and as I said to you, the details and people outside of the creative part of it don't really understand that. That sometimes I get bogged down in the details have to be right, the colour of the grade has to be right, the edit has to be perfect, the music has to be great, the sleeve has to be gorgeous, there's no, I check the spelling on things, it's like it all adds up to the experience, and I'm so busy thinking about those things. And also, if I think about success, because what I have is not, I don't think it has proven itself to be relatively successful. It's like,
you don't?
No.
You don't consider yourself successful?
Not relatively. I think if I went around saying I'm really successful, there'd be plenty of people who come along and go, what do you mean you're successful? Your last record didn't even chart, or, you know what I mean? They would, there's plenty of things that you could say are not successful about my career, so...
But you must think that a certain amount of it's successful. Otherwise you wouldn't be like...
I have my moments, like if I'm standing on stage and the gig is going really, really well... That feels like a success. If I'm at a club and Maurice drops one of these records that we've made and it's in that context works perfectly, that's a success. If I put a video out and people who know what they're talking about say it's brilliant, that's a success. If I create a look that then becomes something that's a designer references, or that's a success. Those are kind of successes. They're small successes, and as I said to you, I'm looking for the compound effect, really. I'm waiting for the compound effect of all those little tiny successes to maybe, hopefully, in retrospect, will create a bigger sense of success within me, a bigger sense of achievement.
So that is success, if all of those things could come together at the same time.
The better ad, yeah. No, I mean, at some point it just better be like compound interest, At some point it just better be that, regardless as to the certain areas that I have been excluded from, one day the compound of everything that I actually have achieved will override all that. And that's what I believe. That otherwise I couldn't go on.
Yeah. What would you do if you weren't doing this?
I'm doing everything, so I wouldn't be doing anything. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything that I can do, I'm doing every day. I'm making film, I'm making visual, I'm making pictures, I'm performing, I'm making music, I'm talking to you, I'm doing podcasts now myself. I'm doing everything. So I would either do this or do nothing at all. Like I would either I would pull the covers over me and go to sleep for the rest of my life.
Sure. In terms of like what the music industry is now, there's all of these different things to do. Do you like the way it is now compared to the way it was? It sounds like even back then you were really hands-on across anything anyway.
Yeah.
But now that there's all of these extra things...
It'd be nice if it was a bit more, in a way, the more I do, the less grateful the other people who have to gain from the work that I put in are. And that I find really difficult to absorb. I've delivered videos in the last few months and my record label don't get in touch with me. They don't even say,
is it because
thanks for that.
Is it just because people are expected to do everything themselves now?
And there's this awful culture of asking. I was reading a very interesting piece about this last night. There's this awful culture of asking creative people to do stuff for free. Dreadful. And that cliche of, well, you wouldn't go into a restaurant and say, give me the food for free for exposure. It's like, what? It's dreadful culture, that. And the music industry as a whole, it had a very bad time a few years ago, for sure. But the numbers are that last year was the best year of the music industry's entire existence ever. There was more money made in the music business than ever before, but not the artists. It wasn't the same for the artists.
But are those numbers not skewed in the favour of like the major labels and their Spotify deals?
The amount of money that is being generated in the music business was the biggest amount ever last year. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going into the details of where the money went, except to say that only 12% of it went to the artists.
Right.
Yeah, those are the figures. So even the big artists, of course, many of the big artists now are creating their own corporations and all this kind of shenanigans.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not in the position to do that, or, I'd like to actually, and I think I could do it, but,
How have you enjoyed the singles, putting out the 12-inch singles that you've done over the summer? You've got one more to come, haven't you?
I haven't enjoyed it.
You haven't enjoyed it? No.
The pressure just has been immense.
So to fill people in.
I don't think I've had worse years, because I've had sadder years in my life, but I have never had as hard a year. This is the hardest things have ever been. So when you ask me about success, I'm definitely not in a place where I'm thinking I'm successful.
Right.
I'm just thinking, but I do think I'm bloody good. I do think what I do is, more and more as the years go by, if anything, the quality is going up and up with what I do, because I just absolutely have to make it brilliant.
But the singles have been tough.
It's been tough, yeah. I put out 4 singles. It was meant to be 1 a month. In the end, after 2, I was totally exhausted, wiped out. Not because I'm putting out singles, but because of everything that goes around them, and I have to make everything that goes around them. And as I said to you, I have to check even the very, the fine print of things, because other people aren't. I don't have you see, I was never one for even knowing what people's jobs were in the record companies that I was in. Was it production manager? I don't have one of them, and don't have there's all sorts of people that are not there.
There's lots of titles that you think, I don't know what that person does.
I don't know what they do,
yeah.
But I know they're not there anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and I know what it means now. It means that I have to check absolutely everything, and so it's a ball ache,
Yeah.
And so after 2, I nearly had a breakdown.
Did
Seriously,
you?
Yeah. I'm close again now, if I'm
Are you?
honest. Yeah, really, because this last video, I've stretched time and space and money. I've warped reality getting this video that's about to come tomorrow. But you see, I really think I'm good at it. I do think I'm good at it, and it'd be a shame not to do
that part.
To do me, to do me.
I think it probably comes back to the fact that when you got into music, looking at it from a different angle, from like a more conceptual angle anyway, and as someone that thought they might be a conceptual artist. So,
well, I don't know if I thought I'd be a conceptual artist. But maybe I did, yes, I suppose. I'm loath to admit it, though, now. Jesus, what a bunch of arseholes they are.
But, you came at it from that world or that mindset, whereas, like, most people, a lot of people, I suppose the standard way that musicians think is like, I just want to be the musician. Someone else can deal with this other stuff. This
that's
other
just like people. I'm telling you, that is so easy. It's too easy for me. I just get in the studio, and before I leave that day, there's a song there. I just think to myself, I want to make a record. I look around, and there's always someone there in my life who's brilliant to help me with it. It's easy, it's that. And I sing. I open my gob, say when I was 11, I sang Don't Cry for Me Argentina in front of my parents and my grandmother and my uncle and my auntie and my cousins, and they all went, Jesus, Roisin can sing. And then every time they drank, they ran after me to sing Don't Cry for Me Argentina, and I ran as fast as I could to get away from them, you know what I mean? Just like, you open your gob and the voice is there. It's easy. It's not even like I didn't even have to learn an instrument, that's totally another, like a language that I don't speak, but making music the way I make music, collaborating with these brilliant people, it's too easy. I couldn't possibly feel good about myself just doing that.
Yeah.
It's a piece of piss.
Midnight Chats is a loud and quiet podcast. Production by Emma Snook. Music courtesy of Gold Panda. Search Midnight Chats on iTunes for more episodes and to subscribe. For more information, visit loudandquiet.com.